Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm really thrilled you're joining us for this one because today we are tearing into this universal tension that I can practically guarantee you have felt at some point in your
Oh,
life.
absolutely. Everyone feels it.
Right. It's that profound and frankly sometimes totally maddening disconnect of having a mind that feels completely infinite. I mean, a consciousness that can instantly jump to any timeline, any identity, any
Like in
galaxy.
a fraction of a second.
Exactly. Yet you find yourself walking around inside this finite, heavy biological body. We're really looking at the friction between the absolute speed of your imagination and the undeniable, stubborn reality of physical matter.
It really is kind of the ultimate human paradox. You know, you can travel to the edges of the universe in your mind, but if you want to simply get a glass of water, you still have to deal with gravity.
Yeah, you have to get up.
Right. You have to move your physical mass across the room, rely on this deeply complex musculoskeletal system to do it. Our consciousness feels completely light and untethered, while our physical form is grounded and heavily governed by time and biology. And that specific friction is the core of what we are going to explore today.
And to do that, we have an incredibly unique source text on the table. It's a deeply philosophical piece titled Message from Gaia, Mother of Creation.
It's a fascinating read.
It really is.
Yeah.
And what makes this text so striking right off the bat is the perspective it's written from. It speaks in the voice of Gaia, but we aren't talking about, a mythological goddess wearing a flower crown here.
No, not at all.
In this text, Gaia represents the primordial intelligence that is woven into the actual fabric of matter itself. It's the voice of the physical universe.
And our mission today is to explore how this text fundamentally reframes our understanding of the human body. We're going to look closely at how it navigates the tension between our fluid internal identities and the fixed laws of biology.
Which is a heavy topic.
It is, but it's so rich. We will analyze the text's specific perspectives on physical limitations, medical interventions, and transgender identity. And ultimately, we are building toward a rather surprising argument the author makes.
The idea about creativity.
Yes, the idea that our physical constraints, rather than being some sort of cosmic trap keeping us from our true selves, might actually be the foundational structure required for all human creativity.
Now, I do want to set the tone here because this piece wades right into some of the biggest social and political debates we're having today, specifically around gender variance and hormone therapy.
Right.
And while we are not here to take a side, endorse a political viewpoint, or weigh in on those societal debates, we're absolutely going to look strictly at the fascinating philosophical and biological framework this author builds around those issues. We're impartially exploring the architecture of the ideas presented in the source so you can chew on these concepts for yourself.
Exactly. We are treating this text as a conceptual lens. It offers a highly cohesive philosophy regarding the relationship between consciousness and material reality. Our job is simply to test the strength of that lens and see what the world looks like through it.
Okay, let's unpack this. The text begins with Gaia describing the actual physical creation of the human body. And the language the author uses isn't ethereal or magical,
It's gritty.
very visceral and dense. Gaia speaks of shaping the body over these massive, agonizingly long arcs of time. There are descriptions of slowly forging calcium to build a skeleton, pulling iron from the earth to create blood, and deliberately braiding hormones into complex tides. You get this overwhelming sense of material density and deep time.
It paints a picture of a process that is anything but instantaneous. It highlights that biological matter does not just pop into existence because we look for it. It has to be forged.
It takes real work.
Think about how a broken bone actually heals. Your body has to deploy specialized cells, osteoblasts and osteoclasts, to painstakingly clear away the debris and lay down new crystallized minerals over weeks and months.
It's construction work.
Literally. It requires the delicate, highly complex braiding of chemical signals to create even the simplest endocrine response. The text establishes a baseline immediately. Biology is governed by strict, unforgiving physical processes.
But then the text draws a massive contrast, acknowledging that while our biology is a heavy, slow-moving ship, our inner world is a fighter jet. Gaia acknowledges that human imagination, identity, longing, and self-concept move like water.
And moving like water implies an effortless adaptability. The text explicitly states that within your psyche, you can instantly integrate your masculine and feminine currents.
Just seamlessly.
Yes, your soul can explore complex polarities and ultimate unity without any physical restriction whatsoever. And what is vital here is that the text actually validates this. It calls this internal fluidity real and sacred.
It's not dismissing it.
Not at all. It isn't telling you that your imagination is just a frivolous illusion. It honors the absolute agility of your mind.
But wait, if our minds are so incredibly advanced, why wouldn't nature just evolve bodies that could keep up? I mean, why the biological lag?
That's the big question.
And the text hits this head on. Gaia states, point blank, that flesh was never designed to rearrange itself at the speed of emotion, and chromosomes were not instructed to rewrite themselves just because our feelings shift. It almost sounds like a design flaw when you phrase it that way.
And that is a totally natural reaction. When you feel a profound disconnect, whether it's an injury that takes forever to heal, the frustrating reality of aging, or feeling like your physical form simply does not match the vibrant energy or identity you hold inside, it feels like a cosmic error.
It feels incredibly unfair.
It does. But the text asks you, the listener, to reframe that frustration. This slow response of your body is framed as a lawful unfolding. It argues that if biology operated on the same timeline as consciousness, we wouldn't have structural stability. We operate through process and development, not instant manifestation, and that timeline is deliberate.
To really drive that point home, the author offers this wild thought experiment. They ask us to imagine what human society would actually look like if our bodies could instantly shapeshift according to our internal frequency.
It's a crazy visual.
If we essentially got biological software updates the second our moods changed. The examples given are mind-bending. The text suggests that if this were a biological law, human height would literally alter based on a person's level of confidence.
Imagine the sheer chaos of that reality. Picture a standard morning commute in terrible traffic. Someone cuts you off, you suddenly feel insecure and small, and your physical body literally shrinks so you can barely see over the steering wheel.
Oh my gosh.
And then your favorite song comes on, your confidence spikes, and suddenly your head is bursting through the sunroof.
Or the text suggestion that we'd see age reverse simply through experiencing joy. You'd have people Benjamin buttoning their way back to infancy during a really great vacation.
Right.
It sounds like a fun fantasy, but it would be structurally impossible to maintain a society or even a coherent self if our physical forms are that volatile. The author also mentions limbs reshaping through meditation, or chromosomes reorganizing through prayer.
This raises an important question, though, which the text immediately answers. Do we ever actually observe this happening in the real world?
We don't.
No. As the author flatly states, we do not see joyful people regressing to childhood. We do not see prayer fundamentally altering chromosomal karyotypes. What's fascinating here is how the text uses those absurd examples to expose the danger of expecting matter to behave like thought.
Instead, you see biology responding strictly to chemistry. That is the hard reality check the text provides. Tissue responds to chemical signaling. Cells follow signaling cascades.
It's mechanics.
Exactly. And let's be clear about what a signaling cascade is. It isn't a poof of magic. It's a biological domino effect, where one molecule alters another, which alters another, taking actual time and burning actual energy. Bone remodels slowly. Endocrine systems shift gradually.
The author is drawing a very hard, very necessary line between the rules of consciousness and the rules of anatomy. And the purpose of drawing that line is to protect the reader from a very specific, very painful kind of spiritual confusion.
Which perfectly explains why the text takes a detour into ancient mythology. Because if you look at almost any ancient culture, you find stories of deities who do exactly what we just said is impossible. They constantly shift forms.
Everywhere you look in myth.
You have Zeus turning into a swan or a bull, or Norse gods like Loki changing their gender and species at will. If biology is so strict, why are our oldest stories obsessed with shapeshifting?
Because the archetype of transformation is how early humans tried to map the psyche. But the text provides a crucial key for decoding these myths. It explains that when deities in these ancient stories shift forms, the narratives are meant to teach us about psychological integration.
So it's an internal map.
Yes, they are stories about unity, polarity, and the hidden aspects of the self. They are deep spiritual teachings, not biological textbooks.
The phrase the author uses is, "Do not confuse symbolic truth with anatomical law." That feels like a massive anchor for this whole philosophy.
It is the anchor.
The ancient stories of shapeshifting are brilliant maps of the soul's journey and the fluidity of consciousness. But if you read Ovid's Metamorphoses and try to biologically transform yourself into a laurel tree through sheer force of will, you have wildly misunderstood the assignment.
And if you blur those lines in your own life, you set yourself up for immense suffering. If you hold a belief that achieving a pure enough spiritual state should allow you to magically alter your physical anatomy, or heal a broken bone instantly, or change your biology through meditation alone, you are fighting a losing battle against the fundamental laws of matter.
You're demanding that matter act like thought.
You are demanding that iron and calcium behave like thoughts and dreams, which is a recipe for deep psychological pain.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because if our bodies are bound by these incredibly strict, slow, unyielding chemical laws, what do we actually do when our physical reality causes us suffering? What happens when our biology fails us or simply doesn't align with our inner reality? Are we just supposed to suffer in the name of structural stability?
That's the tension.
This is where the text introduces a totally radical reframing of human medicine.
This is undoubtedly the most empathetic section of the entire source text. It fundamentally rejects the historical idea that needing medical intervention is some sort of spiritual failure or cosmic punishment.
The progression the text uses to explain this is incredibly grounded. It starts with a universally understood scenario. When human sight blurs, you craft lenses. Nobody views putting on a pair of prescription glasses as a sin against nature.
Right, it's totally normalized.
It is simply a mechanical tool used to assist a biological limitation.
Then the author scales it up to a systemic issue. When glucose regulation falters in the pancreas, human beings craft insulin. We use our deep understanding of chemistry to assist and supplement the body's failing chemistry.
And then the text applies this exact same unbroken logic to gender identity. It states, when endocrine patterns do not align with lived identity, you craft hormones. It treats the synthesis of hormone therapy exactly the same as the crafting of glass lenses or the synthesis of insulin.
It normalizes it entirely.
Entirely within the realm of human ingenuity and biological reality.
The profound part is how it strips away the mysticism. Throughout history, physical ailments, disabilities, or bodily mismatches have so often been viewed as punishments from the divine or signs of spiritual weakness. People were told that if they just prayed harder or had better energy, they wouldn't need medicine. The text completely shatters that toxic notion.
It leaves absolutely no room for ambiguity. Impartially looking at exactly what the text says regarding transgender identity, Gaia states there is no cosmic curse forcing the use of medicine. It says there is no spiritual impurity in being transgender.
It's very explicit.
It specifically notes there is no occult amplification inherent in gender variance and no metaphysical darkness in using hormone therapy.
Let's translate those heavier terms because they are crucial. When the text says there is no occult amplification, it means there is no hidden mystical superpower or magical energy attached to this. It is just biology and identity.
It grounds it in reality.
Exactly. And when it says there is no metaphysical darkness, it means you haven't committed some sort of cosmic sin or violated the universe by altering your chemistry. It removes all the spiritualized anxiety that society often dumps on these topics. Gender variance is simply a human variation, and the medical tools used to align the body with the inner identity are just human tools. It is chemistry responding to chemistry.
The author summarizes this with a line that I think changes the whole paradigm. They write, medicine is not darkness. It is nature learning how to assist itself.
Think about the implications of that one sentence. Nature learning how to assist itself. We constantly set up this artificial combative boundary between nature and human technology.
As if we're outside of nature.
But we are a part of nature. Our big, complex, highly evolved brains that manage to invent insulin, map the human genome, and synthesize hormone replacement therapy, those brains are biological products of the earth.
So the tools are natural.
Therefore, the medicine we create is literally just nature evolving a new, highly specific way to care for its own biological forms. We are not rebelling against nature when we use medicine. We are an extension of nature's own problem-solving capacity.
That turns human ingenuity into an organic evolutionary trait rather than a rebellion. Which brings us to the final major concept in the text, revolving around the broader idea of limitations. The source bluntly reminds the reader, you are embodied. And because you are embodied, it says, embodiment carries constraints. Flesh follows physiology.
It's inescapable.
This isn't a cosmic sabotage keeping you from being your true self. It is just the reality of the dense medium we are working in.
But the author offers a massive philosophical pivot here. The text states, constraints are not punishment, they are structure. Within structure, creativity emerges.
But let me push back on that a bit. It sounds beautiful, but it absolutely feels like a punishment when you're the one suffering from a biological mismatch or a failing body. How does the text reconcile the pain of constraint with this idea of creativity?
It validates the friction but asks you to look at the result of it. Think about any form of art. A painter fundamentally needs the physical edge of the canvas. If the canvas went on forever in every direction, there would be no composition, no tension, no frame of reference.
It would just be a void.
Exactly. Or consider a poet using the strict constraints of a sonnet, the rigid meter, the forced rhyme scheme. It is exactly those harsh constraints that force their language to become more inventive, more precise, and more potent. The constraint doesn't kill the creativity. It is the scaffolding that makes the creativity possible.
So the text is asking us to view the heavy, slow, stubborn laws of biology, not as a prison cell, but as the canvas edge. If we could just instantly shapeshift our bodies with a fleeting thought, or heal a wound just by wishing it away, we never would have had to invent anything.
We have no reason to.
We wouldn't have built a microscope, or discovered penicillin, or synthesized complex medicines. Our intellect would have stayed dormant.
Precisely. We are forced to be brilliant because matter is stubborn. The author is urging us to stop attributing to demons or darkness what is simply development in chemistry. The intense limitations of our physical bodies are exactly what force human consciousness to build, to discover, to communicate, and to invent.
Now, the text does leave the door cracked open for the future. It acknowledges that humanity is still an evolving species. It suggests that if humanity eventually evolves into a future state where matter does respond more directly or quickly to consciousness, that will simply be an evolutionary development.
Yes, but it includes a very specific caveat. It says that if that happens, it would be a biological evolution, not a moral reward for purity. It constantly pulls the reader away from the trap of believing that spiritual perfection equals biological magic.
But for right now, in our current form, the rule remains. Flesh follows physiology.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really changes how you walk through your daily life. You, listening to this right now, are constantly navigating the interface between your boundless, infinite consciousness and your highly finite material form.
Every single day.
And what this text is telling you is that this interface is lawful. It makes sense. It is not cursed. The friction you feel every day is simply the natural result of two profoundly different systems, the lightning speed of thought and the glacial speed of matter interacting with one another.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize everything we've pulled from Message from Gaia, what is the core takeaway for you, the listener?
I think it comes down to the text's final command. Honor your inner currents. Honor your biological realities. We're being asked to hold two seemingly opposing truths at the exact same time.
It's a balancing act.
We must fully respect the sacred, highly fluid nature of our identity and our imagination, while simultaneously respecting the heavy chemical laws of the biological body we inhabit. And crucially, we must understand that using our intellect and our tools to bridge the gap between those two worlds is a triumph of nature, not a spiritual failure.
It is ultimately a call for profound self-compassion. You are not blocked from being your truest self by some sort of cosmic sabotage or spiritual failing. You are simply operating within the structural constraints of embodiment. And that leaves me with a thought I really want you to mull over as you step away from this and go about your day.
I love this part. We've talked about how constraints foster creativity, and how our slow, frustrating biology forced us to invent medicine and science. But take that one step further. If the strict, unyielding laws of biology are actually the necessary scaffolding that forces human consciousness to be inventive, then perhaps our physical limitations aren't just a container for our minds.
They're the catalysts.
What if they are the very friction required to spark human evolution? What if the heavy, stubborn, unyielding nature of matter is actually the greatest teacher the human imagination will ever have? If everything were easy, if matter just bent to our will instantly without resistance, consciousness would have absolutely no reason to grow.
Matter is the great teacher of the imagination. That is a truly profound perspective to carry with you. I want to warmly thank you for joining us today and diving into such deep, complex waters. Keep exploring that beautiful, frustrating, incredible space between your boundless consciousness and your physical reality. We will catch you on the next deep dive.